So, hey guys, welcome to another episode on the series Certified Copies Analysis. I'm uploading the FR analysis right now at the right time because I feel कि अभी आप FR पढ़ने लगोगे and this will just help you in your preparation for your paper one in the November 22 exams. So, just starting off, I'll just give you one tip of how to go about attempting the questions. Your first two questions which you attempt in the paper, the first two questions should be those in which you feel you're the most confident, you feel are your strengths. Because इससे क्या होगा कि okay, FR will be your first paper, and of course there will be some nerves which you'll be facing. So I would always recommend to start with the first two questions in which you're most confident. Over here, you can see I've started with question three, and question three, I've got 17 marks out of 20, which is a good enough start. Also, I would say कि question one जो आपका होता है ना, never start with that because question one is normally business combination consolidation, and those happen to be very lengthy, questions. So and there are a lot of adjustments in those particular questions. So that's why I would never recommend that you all start with that because it might also demotivate you and break your confidence. So always start with the question where you're most confident. Also, guys, just watch this video, try watching it till the end because I'll just show you that even I was facing some you know time shortage, but how I still managed to score very well despite the time shortage that I encountered. So just let's start. We're starting with question 3A. Question 3A is on Index 19, and you can see the very basic question: provide a reco from opening balance to closing balance for plan assets, liabilities, and P&L में कितना amount जाएगा, OCI में कितना amount जाएगा, और फिर balance sheet में net अपना कितना liability asset show होगा. So ये मेरा बहुत ही strong concept है, बहुत strong. I've got a 7 on 7 over here. So you can see the presentation. It's not very fancy. It's just enough for the examiner to read because आपके जो practical papers होते हैं उसमें आपका answer correct होना चाहिए. Presentation आप line बनाओ नहीं बनाओ इतना matter नहीं करता. I would suggest कि आप मत बनाओ because FR and other practical papers tend to be very lengthy in the ICF. So you all can see I've made these four, assets, OCI, PNL, defined benefit liability. So इसका मुझे 4.5 marks मिला है for making all those four, components. And then the net liability that will be shown in the balance sheet, the deficit, उसके लिए I've been given 2.5 marks more. So that adds to 7 marks. Also, I would recommend कि ऐसी lines आप लिखो since there's a deficit, there's no question of an adjustment of asset ceiling. So that examiner को मालूम हो कि आपको concept मालूम है. बहुत बार ऐसी चीजें ICI के suggested answers में आ सकती है and you might just miss out on it. So I just wrote a one line, didn't take much time, but just to tell the examiner that I know this concept, and the examiners gave me 7 on 7, so it's a very good start. Now moving on to the second question. It's on Index 23 again, one of the strengths of mine. So इसमें है कि term loan लिया 1,080 lakhs का and plant machinery के लिए इसमें से 910 lakhs has been used and balance has been used for working capital purpose. Management considers 12 months to be substantial period. Total interest is this much. So this is a treatment in books of the interest paid. So what normally people will just move on to the calculations. No, that's not how you proceed. See, I've first given a reference of the Index 23. मैंने पहले theory लिखा उसका. Borrowing cost directly attributable to purchase, construction, production of qualifying assets shall be capitalized. There I mentioned qualifying asset, but just assume कि examiner कुछ ही नहीं जानता. He doesn't know FR के बारे में कुछ भी, तो उसे सब चीजें समझानी पड़ती है. A qualifying asset is one which necessarily takes a substantial period of time to be ready for its intended use. Management here has given 12 months. So basis that it is a qualifying asset. And then I've shown my calculations. So this much amount I've discussed the treatment that this should be capitalized, balance interest. I've said that it should be expense to statement of P&L. और क्योंकि पेपर में लिखा था डिस्कस द ट्रीटमेंट, तो आईसीआई बहुत बार जर्नल एंट्रीज भी डाल देता है ऐसी सजेस्टेड आंसर्स में. इस सजेस्टेड आंसर में आईसीआई ने नहीं डाला है बट बहुत बार डाल देता है. बट जस्ट टू बी ऑन द सेफर साइड आई वुड रेकमेंड कि इवन यू राइट जर्नल एंट्रीज. अगेन यू ऑल डोंट नीड टू मेक लाइंस और कॉलम्स ओवर योर जर्नल एंट्री होनी चाहिए, उसके साथ नरेशन होना चाहिए. नरेशन के भी मार्क्स हो सकते हैं. आईसीआई माइट डिडक्ट मार्क्स इफ यू डोंट राइट नरेशन. बस 3 वर्ड्स का नरेशन लिखो बट लिखो एंड जस्ट शो द जर्नल एंट्री. Then there's a second subpart. Will your answer be different if the whole process of renovation got completed by this date? So, this case makes less than 12 months, whereas management considers 12 months to be substantial. Hence, it is not a qualifying asset, and entirely it will be expense to statement of P&L. So, if you all see my the marks which I've got 2 marks for 2 marks for the theory that I've written, the explanation. For the 2 marks I've got for this explanation कि कैसे हम लोग treat करेंगे, and 2 marks मुझे इस subpart के लिए भी दिए कि entirely it will be shown in your statement of P&L. So, I've got a 6 on 7. 1 mark, I do not know why ICS deducted it. I went through the suggested answers, but I did not find something over there. Moving on to question 2C, question 3C, sorry. So in this case, you all can see it's an India's 103 question where an Indian company has acquired a foreign company. लेकिन Indian company का functional currency है rupees, foreign company का functional currency है dollars. And in number 1, we've been asked determine the value at which goodwill should be recognized as on the year end. So इसमें because the values that have been given, fair value, purchase consideration, everything, I've calculated the goodwill in dollars. You all can see I've done it very systematically. पहले बता दिया acquirer ये है, date of acquisition ये है, purchase consideration इतना, fair value of net assets इतना, NCI को calculate करो, then goodwill को dollars में calculate करो. So it's a very systematic presentation. ऊपर Ind AS 103 भी लिखा है मैंने, and I've just given a note. In the absence of information, NCI is calculated using proportional net assets method. Notes are very important, but I'll still show you what ICI has done. Just give me a minute for that. So I've calculated goodwill over here. Goodwill मैंने dollars में calculate कर दिया. उसे फिर as on the date of acquisition, this was the goodwill using that day का exchange rate. Year end पे because goodwill we use a closing rate. I calculated that. I've specified the treatment कि डिफरेंस FCTR में जाएगा. बट इसमें अगर आप देखोगे ना, तो आई गॉट इन दिस पार्ट आउट ऑफ 3 marks का दिस पार्ट वाज देयर. आई गॉट 2.5 आई थिंक. या आई गॉट 2.5. तो 0.5 marks जो मुझे लग रहा है ICA ने मेरे काटे हैं. आई कैन टेल यू व्हाई. सो इधर यू कुड हैव रिटन द थ्योरी कि गुडविल शुड बी ट्रांसलेटेड एट द क्लोजिंग रेट. मैंने सीधा उसे दिखा दिया कि गुडविल को मैंने क्लोजिंग रेट पे ले लिया है. सेकेंडली, ICA ने क्या किया है, ICA ने इधर अज्यूम किया कि अगर आई एम पेइंग 7.8 million एज माई परचेज कंसिडरेशन फॉर acquiring 75%, so fair value of the entire company would be 7.8 million upon 75%. Basically, it has been derived basis the purchase consideration itself, and then uska 25% they've taken for the NCI. So ICI ने इस केस में NCI को measure किया using fair value also. So they've taken the purchase consideration as the basis to calculate the fair value of the NCI, which can be a reasonable approach. So you all can follow this in examinations also. So इसलिए मुझे 2.5 दिए 3 में से 0.5 marks मेरा इधर काटा है. Now, if you all see this, second question is of an upstream transaction, and we have to determine the unrealized profit to be eliminated. Again, 3 marks का. इसमें से I've got 1.5 marks. So what I've done in such a case is मैंने unrealized profit I've calculated it. But I'll just show you what all ICI has done additionally. ICI ने पहले पूरा ये थ्योरी लिखा है कि इनकम्स एंड एक्सपेंसेस फॉर ईच स्टेटमेंट ऑफ P&L shall be translated at exchange rate as on date of transaction. Basic जो हम लोगों को मालूम है कि date of transaction पे incomes expenses होते हैं. And then they've said कि you know hence the exchange rate as on the date of purchase of inventory is to be taken for calculation of unrealized profit, which is to be eliminated while preparation of CFS. So basically they've written more theory. I haven't written that theory because question में अगर आप देखोगे, question में बस लिखा था कि you just have to determine the unrealized profit. But what ICI has done, they have first calculated the unrealized profit, and then unrealized profit कौन सी exchange rate पे उसे आप eliminate करोगे. They have justified that also, so you all can keep this in mind to score more marks. Coming on to question 4. Question 4 is here. So question 4 अभी आप देखोगे ना, तो it's question 4 is based on Ind AS 109 and it's a 14 mark question. बट अगर आप देखोगे ना, इसमें मुझे इतना 14 marks जैसा कुछ लगा नहीं. मतलब ठीक है, question was lengthy and all, but 14 marks is a lot. So how I approach an FR or any other paper is that I have 180 minutes for 100 marks. So for each mark I can dedicate 1.8 minutes. All right. So for a 14-mark answer, I can dedicate 14 into 1.8 minutes. That is roughly 25 minutes I can dedicate. And ये मेरा 25 minutes से कम में होने वाला था ये question. So that is why I attempted this question, ताकि ये question थोड़ा जल्दी खत्म हो जाए और मैं दूसरे questions फिर attempt कर पाऊँ. So if you all see, it's a basic Ind AS 109 question straight from the module that इतने के bonds issue के convertible bonds है, and it can be converted into one ordinary share at any time in the next 8 years. Normally, your EIR will be 7% in this case. So you have to provide journal entries for 4 years, calculate interest expenses across all the 8 years of the life. Bond की life है 8 years की. Journal entry पहले 4 साल की पूछी है, और interest expense सारे 8 years का हमें मांगा है. And then the third part, we'll come to that in a minute. So you all can see that we anyway have to calculate interest expenses across all 8 years of the life. So it's always better to first make the amortization table, then make the journal entries. Based is the figures you get from the amortization table. So over here I've just mentioned the given. Then see, इधर मैंने properly theory लिखा है, तो मुझे marks उसके मिले हैं. I've written Ind AS 109 in case of compound financial instrument. We call it split accounting. This is the keyword, split accounting. Since there exists a liability component, interest and principal, which is a contractual obligation to pay cash, and there's also an equity component, which is settlement in own equity shares of a fixed number. So I've properly written it over here. You can see that मैंने पहले liability component and equity component at the inception date मैंने उसका bifurcation किया, उसके लिए I've got 3 marks. Then I've mentioned कि equity component will not be remeasured further. Liability component is to be accounted using amortized cost principles. Then I've prepared the amortization table for all the 8 years. Okay, and basis इधर से जो figures मिले हैं ना, उसके basis पे मैंने फिर वो 4 साल का journal entry भी बना दिया. Like if you see starting date, this is the date when the bonds were issued. So over here I've got bank account debit 1.5 to liability component to equity component using the figures that I've already got. Then it's the same journal entry. Then for at every year end, interest cost, which I again got from the amortization table, to bank account, which again from the amortization table, and to liability component, which is basically your balancing figure. And same मैंने journal entry 4 बार लिखी है, तो इसमें मेरा टाइम इतना नहीं गया. इसमें मैंने पहले चारों journal entries लिखी थी, फिर मैंने figures populate कर दिए थे. So इसमें interest cost के बाजू में you should bracket में just mention P&L account, so that examiner knows कि finally P&L में जाएगा. Narration आप 3 लाइन के लिख दो. So देखोगे तो इसके भी I've got good marks. And then एक और इसका सपाट था कि accounting entries if holders elect to convert the bonds at the end of the 4th year. Okay, so उसका भी I've see इधर मैंने लिखा है, उसमें भी मैंने mention किया कि journal entries of years of the first 3 years will continue to be the same. I've mentioned it. Examiner को ऐसे सोच के चलो कि examiner को कुछ ही नहीं मालूम, तो उसे सब mention करो. irrespective of conversion in the fourth year, हमारी पहले 3 साल की तो journal entries won't be affected, and then fourth year का journal entry properly given, since the examiner has said that after receiving interest for the fourth year, तो पहले हम लोग interest का मैंने entry मार दिया, interest cost to bank to liability, okay, and then after that, your bonds are being converted, so उसका मैंने journal entry इधर दिखा दिया, and you all can see I've got 13.5 marks in this particular question out of 14. So it's a very systematic flow of an answer. Now comes integrated reporting. I did not think that I'll be attempting this in the paper. ये मैंने बस exam के एक दिन पहले जो भी आपकी जिस chapters है में, like conceptual framework हो गया, integrated reporting, जिधर भी आपकी theory है ना, उसको आप एग्जाम से एक दिन पहले पढ़ के जाना, ताकि आपको एग्जामिनेशन डे पे याद हो। ठीक है, निग्लेक्ट मत करना, बिकॉज बहुत बार हो सकता है कि एफआर का पेपर लेंदी हो जाए या टफ आ जाए, सो ओवर देयर दीस टाइप ऑफ क्वेश्चंस विल बी serious, because ये याद किया आपने तो फिर you will be able to write this in the paper. So what is integrated reporting? Discuss any 5 salient features. This came for 6 marks and I was just like wow. So because this is a proper theory answer and not a normal practical calculations based, तो इसलिए मैंने आप देखोगे तो अंडरलाइनिंग सब किया है मैंने, या इधर मैंने प्रॉपर अंडरलाइनिंग किया है कि इंटीग्रेटेड रिपोर्टिंग कौन कौन करता है, इसमें 6 कैपिटल्स होते हैं, टू हुम इज इट voluntarily applicable in India currently. Then I've just given that intro to integrated reporting. Then मैंने salient features में I've arrived, and I've underlined the head points. And yeah, I've properly written that answer. And in such a theory answer, I've got 5 out of 6. So this was again a very good choice. So if you see the first 2 questions I attempted, question 3 was 17 on 20, question 4 18.5 on 20. So it's a very good start to an FR paper. By this time your nerves should ideally settle. And yeah, it's that's why I would recommend you all to start with your strengths. Moving on to question 5, this is where I've not scored very well. So as to say, I can tell you why. It was on Index 20, and cash grant of 24 lakh was received towards skill development of employees over a period of 18 months, starting from 1st April of next year. And the actual expenses have then been given to us. State how they should be accounted for. So number one, whenever ICI says accounted for, right, you all should always assume कि इंडेक्स 20 के क्वेश्चन में उन्हें एक तो ट्रीटमेंट चाहिए, फिर उन्हें प्रेजेंटेशन भी चाहिए. तो देखो मैंने बहुत इसमें लॉजिकली समझाया कि इंडेक्स 20 में basically they wanted how it should be accounted for, and it's an income linked grant. So I've just mentioned कि as per Index 20 accounting for government grants, the proper name लिखा, grant should be initially recognized when, then what is a grant linked to income, and what is the treatment of a grant linked to income. If you see any grant not linked to asset, that is not linked to acquisition purchase of a specified long-term asset, is a grant linked to income, and it should first be recorded in deferred grant. Thereafter it should be amortized to P&L. So इसमें प्रॉब्लम क्या हुई है, इसमें 24 लाख का हमें ग्रांट मिला ना, so मैंने initially be recorded in deferred grant, this is correct, but then I've amortized it in the ratio of actual expenses that I will be incurring. Basically what I've done is, if you see, जो non current और current का जो split है, वो मैंने I've done it in the ratio of actual expenses that have been incurred, 30 lakhs and 20 lakhs. Okay, so basically 30 lakhs have been incurred in the next year, 20 lakhs in the next to next year. तो मैंने 3:2 के ratio में मैंने non current और current का split इधर दिखाया है. But what ICI has done is, ICI has not done it in the ratio of actual cost, because I think the logic behind that is, as on 31st March 2020, you will not be knowing कि actual cost आपका कितना होगा next year and next to next year में, but they've bifurcated that in the ratio of the months. Okay, so this grant was given for training expenses over the next 18 months. So next year में 12 महीने cover होंगे out of those 18 months. So that has been recognized as current. Balance has been recognized as non-current. So that is a mistake that I made over here. And yeah, so that's why ICI is giving a 0 over here in this particular subpart. Moving on to the next subpart of Index 20, a grant of 10 lakh receivable over 3 years. This said कि पहले साल में 5 लाख, दूसरे साल में 2 लाख, फिर 3 लाख. It is contingent on developing 5 gardens and maintaining them for 3 years. Okay, and the gardens are developed in the financial year 1920, which is the same year as of the first receipt of the grant, and the maintenance cost भी दिया है. And then they've given the kharcha for the second and the third years respectively. We've been asked to calculate the grant income and deferred income to be accounted for in the books. So again, I'm repeating it. Always show presentation in the balance sheet and P&L. मतलब उसका एक extract दिखा दो in an Index 20 question, because that is how ICI also solves it. Over here, over here my answer is correct. I have properly bifurcated it, but I'll tell you what ICI has done differently. ICI ने क्या किया है? ICI ने लिखा है कि since the receipt of grant is depending on fulfilling the contract, it is assumed. ICI ने इधर एक assumption लिया है कि on initial date certainty to fulfill the conditions could not be established. Hence, the grant is recognized on receipt basis. So it's an assumption because of which ICI's answer is different from mine. Otherwise, I think even my answer मैंने assume किया कि first day को it has become receivable because there's sufficient probability of us satisfying. But ICI has not done that. So because of that, ICI's answer is marginally different. You all can just check out ICI's answer. I think you guys reading it yourself will give you all more clarity. I would proceed to the next question. So yeah, over here you can see in that Index 20 question, I've got 1.5 in the second subpart out of 4 because ICI's assumption is slightly different from mine. Now moving on to question 5B, so I've got 6 on it. This is based on Ind AS 105. Okay. And if you'll check over here, again, module से direct question है कि Black Limited decide. They've given us three dates का figures first of all, and then they've given Black decided to sell the business on 30th September. Business ने इस दिन meet किया condition for disposal group held for sales. So 30th September को meet किया, 31st March 2021 का data becomes irrelevant, so you all can directly cross this column. And they've given us the fair value, and the cost to sell has been given to us. So in this, what I have done is I've first I've defined the disposal group kya hota hai. Okay. And then I've gone on to calculate the carrying value, the fair value less cost to sell, and less because fair value less cost to sell is lesser than carrying value, you get an impairment over there. And then allocation हुआ है first to goodwill and second to the other non-current assets in proportion of their existing carrying value. So intangible assets and PPE को भी over here we've just allocated the impairment loss, and then again show the revised carrying value. This is very important. Okay, this is very important. So over here, if you see, I've got 2.5 marks for this particular step. Basically, the steps in the start till here, I've got 2.5 marks for this. Now moving on to the next year, they've said कि as of 31st March 2022 also, the disposal group is still there, and they've given us a revised fair value less cost to sell. Okay. So in this now 31st March 2022, see that I've mentioned it. Assume that the examiner knows nothing about Ind AS 105. Mention it कि PPR intangible asset अभी Ind AS 105 से covered है, तो अभी further depreciation इसमें नहीं होएगा. Okay. Carrying value, goodwill, nil, intangible asset and PPE का हमने last page से जो है 10,510 and 17,709 that we've taken. And other assets का जो है that they've given us revised figures as on 31st March 2022. So that we've taken, we've calculated the impairment, again allocation kiya hai, and basis this, then I've just said that rest of the assets and liabilities will continue at values given in balance sheet, since Ind AS 105 is applicable only to non-current assets and not current assets or liabilities. So I've got 3.5 marks for this entire calculation. Again, I've got 6 on 8 over here. So likely reasons of why IC has deducted my 2 marks is that wait, I'll just show it. मैंने ये सब मैं और लिख सकता था टेक्स्ट में भी कि impairment loss should first be allocated to goodwill and then pro rata to other assets, and then इन लोगों ने first part में भी लिखा है following assets are not in the measurement of scope of the standard, and then they've just named the assets. So what I had done was that if you all check my working, अब directly मैंने बस इधर goodwill को डाल दिया, allocate कर दिया, और फिर दूसरे assets को इधर मैंने, but I should have first written कि Ind AS 105 says कि पहले आप goodwill को भेजो impairment loss, and then so that is one likely reason. Then या बाकी का ठीक है. सो मतलब ऐसे कोई इतना कोई स्ट्रॉन्ग रीजन नहीं टू कट 2 marks, बट ठीक है, IC has done that. Then another of my favorite Ind AS 33 EPS. So over here, if you all check, it's a good question. Again, same question from module, but ये tricky है थोड़ा question. So we have to calculate a basic diluted EPS wherein an entity has ordinary shares and convertible bonds, okay, amounting to 1 lakh rupees. And साल के बीच में 50,000 worth bonds, that is half of the bonds have been converted to ordinary shares, and you have to calculate basic and diluted EPS. This specifically said ignore the need to split convertible bonds into liability and equity. So Ind AS 109 doesn't come into play over here. So I mentioned Ind AS 33. Basic EPS calculate करने के लिए numerator has been given in the question, that is 2,50,000. So I've taken 2,50,000 over here, and इसमें भी see the shares which are legally equity shares on paper. So the company has 10 lakh equity shares since the start, and rupees 50,000 bonds converted to ordinary shares on 30th June 2021, whereas the terms of conversion are 120 ordinary shares for every rupees 100 of bonds. तो बहुत लोग क्या करते हैं, बहुत लोग इसमें directly 50,000 ले लेंगे, but आपको इधर you have to remain alert, and you have to know that 50,000 is in terms of bonds. We want shares over here. So 50,000 upon 100 into 120, you get 60,000 shares, and since these were issued on 30th June, therefore the remaining 9 months will be, and you get your basic EPS over here. Then comes your diluted EPS. इसमें split करना है, इसमें कुछ जो आपके half of the bonds थे, they were diluted only for 3 months. बाकी के जो bonds थे वो diluted थे पूरे 12 months के लिए. So accordingly, the finance cost I've calculated, I've shown this, and yeah, my answer was correct. So I've got 4 on 4 in an Ind AS 33 question. Okay, moving on, question 2A. This is CSR. Many people neglect CSR. I don't recommend you all to do that, because CSR का मैंने देखा कि CSR का एक क्वेश्चन तो आ जाता है. CSR बहुत छोटा चैप्टर है, स्कोरिंग है, और आ ही जाता है. आप Ind AS करोगे, फिर पता नहीं वो Ind AS आएगा नहीं आएगा. जैसा आप देखोगे इस पर्टिकुलर पेपर में Ind AS 116 नहीं आया. सो इट्स ऑलवेज बेटर कि आप CSR और ये इंटीग्रेटेड रिपोर्टिंग तो करके ही चलो, ठीक है. सो इस क्वेश्चन में बस ये है कि whether PK has an obligation to form CSR committee as applicability in the current year has not been satisfied. Okay. So इसमें मैंने पहले तो पूरा सेक्शन 135 लिख दो कंपनीज एक्ट का, ठीक है. ये कितने मार्क्स का है क्वेश्चन? दिस क्वेश्चन इज ऑफ 6 marks and I've got a full 6 in this question. So पहले आप सेक्शन लिख दो 135, ठीक है. फिर आप क्वेश्चन में जो लिखा है वो लिख दो. देन से कि नेट प्रॉफिट हम लोग इमीडिएट प्रीसीडिंग फाइनेंशियल ईयर का देखेंगे, करंट ईयर का नहीं देखेंगे, हेंस इसको जो CSR एप्लीकेबल होगा. Then second part is that whether, क्योंकि आप देखोगे तो current year में net profit is under 5 CR, but preceding year में it's above 5 CR, so hence CSR is applicable. उसका I've got for this part I've got 2A, step 1 I've got 4 marks on 4. Okay. Now second part, if you all see whether 1,50,000 will qualify CSR expenditure under section 135, तो क्या हुआ कि they said कि कोई भी हमारी बाथरूम एक्सेसरी सेल होगी उसमें हम लोग 0.5 कंट्रीब्यूट करेंगे फॉर सीएसआर. However, by year end, only 50% of aforesaid amount was paid. So इसमें आपको proper words लिखने की, mere announcement doesn't qualify. It's based on actual expenditure and liabilities incurred. उसे ही हम लोग CSR गिनेंगे. तो वही only 50% will be considered as CSR. Hence 75,000 will qualify as CSR since it has actually been paid. And I've got 2 marks for this particular subpart. So in all, I've got a 6 on 6 in this particular question. Okay. Another question straight from the module is that ये एक सप्लायर है, ठीक है, ये मशीन और स्पेयर पार्ट्स बना रहा है एंड इसने कंप्लीट कर दिया मैन्युफैक्चरिंग. इसने मशीन और स्पेयर पार्ट्स का दिखा भी दिया कि दीज मीट द अग्रीड अपॉन स्पेसिफिकेशंस एंड the customer has paid for both, but it only takes a machine. Okay. And the customer has also inspected and accepted the spare parts. The customer requests that spare parts be stored at Anandam's warehouse only. इधर लिखा है कि Anandam stores the spare parts in a separate section of the warehouse and they're ready for immediate shipment whenever the customer wants. And Anandam doesn't have the authority to use the spare parts or direct them to another customer. So, and we've been asked to determine how revenue will be recognized for the different performance obligations. So, इसमें पहले इंडेक्स 115 का लिखो कि how, क्योंकि they asked about revenue recognition और इस केस में आप देखोगे कंट्रोल जब ट्रांसफर हो रहा है तब आपको रेवेन्यू रिकॉग्नाइज करना है. तो लिखो when revenue is recognized at a point of time, it is to be recorded at actual discharge. Discharge is evidenced by transfer of control. And control को मैंने slightly थोड़े से शब्दों में define कर दिया, ability to direct use or prevent others from using the good services. Here, Anandam has 3 performance obligations: machines, spare parts, and the third is that is the warehousing and custodial service also. So if you see, I've got 1.5 marks for my basic intro कि डिस्चार्ज तब होएगा जब कंट्रोल ट्रांसफर होएगा, फिर मशीन में मिला है 1 मार्क की, रेवेन्यू तब रिकॉग्नाइज होएगा as on 31st March 2022, the date on which customer pays for the machine and takes the possession, that is the day when control is transferred. Spare parts में आप देखोगे तो spare parts में clear cut इस पैरा में बोल रहे हैं कि कस्टमर के पास लीगल टाइटल है और आनंदम द सप्लायर कांट यूज इट फॉर directing it to any other customer. So वो बस डेटा आप इधर लिख दो. It's given that customer has legal title and it's been identified as belonging to him. So even though customer doesn't take possession, the customer has accepted the spare parts and the control has transferred. So hence you all can recognize the revenue as on 31st March 2022 only. फिर warehousing and custodial service का इधर बताया कि आनंदम expects to hold the spare parts for 1 to 3 years. So warehousing will be over a period of time. So revenue will be recognized over the period of warehousing, that is 1 to 3 years. So एकदम आपको हर चीज मतलब you can take data points from the question only, but it has to be a very logical floppy answer. Here I've explained कि revenue कब recognize होगा at a point of time. At a point of time कब, जब आपका performance obligation discharge होगा, कब, जब transfer of control होएगा. And then I've broken it down into machines, spare parts, and warehousing, and when the revenue should be recognized in such a case. Okay, now moving on to the C part of this particular question. इसमें भी 2 हिस्से थे. Number 1 was analyze the terms of revenue contracts and determine the amount of revenue, refund liability, asset to be recognized. Okay, so it's a very typical question. जिधर we've been given the terms entitle the customer to return within 30 days and receive a full refund, and cost of recovering will be immaterial, and returned logs can be resold at a profit. Hence cost is less than NRV and cost पे हम लोग asset को measure करेंगे. कंपनी ने इतने logs बेचे हैं and company expects कि इतने logs return हो जाएंगे फ्यूचर में. ठीक है, so it's a 4 mark sub question again. I have, if you see, you all can just see कि पहले क्योंकि लिखा था कि analyze the terms of contract, मैंने question से ये data लिख लिया है, and then I've just mentioned कि customer has the right to unconditionally return logs and the company will have a liability to pay cash. Hence on sale, following entries shall be passed bank account to revenue to refund liability. Refund liability is basically जितना amount you expect कि वापस लौटाना पड़ेगा, and then assets, because the assets will ultimately again come to us to cost of goods sold. This I've taken on cost and I've properly explained the rationale behind everything. कि Number 1 इधर मैंने ये दिखा दिया, ठीक है, calculations and all I've shown. Then I've written note as per Ind AS 115, revenue shall be recorded at the consideration we expect to receive. ठीक है, तो अगर इतने logs का consideration I don't expect to receive because I'll have to ultimately return them, so that won't form a part of my revenue also. So I've explained that. Number 2 जो note मैंने बनाया, since we're given that costs of recovering the logs are immaterial and logs can be returned at a profit, so inventory has been shown at cost only over here. So that and yeah. सो ऐसे ही आपको प्रेजेंट करके चलना है. आईसीआई ने इसमें एक एडिशनल पॉइंट क्या लिखा है मैं आपको बता देता हूँ. आईसीआई ने लिखा है कि सिंस द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट अलाउज द कस्टमर टू रिटर्न द प्रोडक्ट्स, द कंसीडरेशन रिसीव्ड इज वेरिएबल एंड कार्ड कंक्लूड्स दैट इट इज हाईली प्रोबेबल दैट a significant reversal of these ये लॉक्स, ये वो वाले लॉक्स कंसीडरेशन है which we don't expect to return. So hence a significant reversal in cumulative amount of revenue recognized will not occur. So इसलिए इतना ही रेवेन्यू आप रिकॉग्नाइज करो. So even I have done that, but मैंने एक लाइन नहीं लिखी थी. So आप देखोगे वही फिगर है, मैंने वो एक बस लाइन नहीं लिखी थी and I've got 3 marks over here. Okay, so I've got 3 on 4 in this particular sub question. Then second question जो है, it is second sub part जो है कि the company has entered into 1 year contract to deliver bolts and इतने वॉल्यूम का कस्टमर खरीदेगा तो इतना प्राइस होएगा, एंड कार्ड expects that 90,000 will be the volume for the entire year. So 90,000 falls in this bracket. Okay. Now in the first quarter, card has sold 24,000 pieces to customer during the first quarter for 200 a piece. Okay. So इसमें आप देखोगे, इसमें again मैंने theory लेकर कि as per Ind AS 115, variable consideration shall be included in transaction price only if it is not constrained. In other words, वापस थोड़ी इंग्लिश लिख लो, it is unlikely that significant reversal will occur when uncertainty is resolved. This is with regards to that 10 rupees हमने extra कलेक्ट किया, because we expect कि finally इस bracket में गिरेगा, but currently हमने 200 रुपए पे बेचा है, so 10 rupees is variable consideration which we expect that it will be returned. Okay. So over here, we've said that 10 rupees is constrained. It will have to be reversed in the future. Hence 190 पे ही revenue recognize करो. Transaction price is 192, जो भी हमें मिला है अभी तक 24,000 volts हमने बेचा है. And then I passed a journal entry for this. So if you all see, I've got 3 marks for this particular answer. Also, I passed a journal entry also over here. ICI ने एक बार देख लेते क्या किया है. ICI ने theoretically बहुत लिखा है इस आंसर को पैराग्राफ में. Transaction price क्या होगा? Since the company expects cumulative sales to be 90,000 volts, transaction price will be 190. Then they said determination of revenue. Transaction price अगर 190 हुआ और हमने 24,000 volts बेचे, so revenue इतना हुआ, and liability will be 24,000 into 10, which we've received right now, which we expect that will have to be reversed in the future because it is constrained. Now comes question one, and question one is always the biggest question. That's why I don't recommend कि आप start में इससे चालू करो. Question one अगर आप देखोगे तो question one it is consolidation. I could not, if you see, even my balance sheet did not tally. Assets का side is 34205, liabilities is something else. So, but if you still see, I've got 9.5 out of 15. Okay, तो ऐसा ही नहीं कि आपकी बैलेंस शीट खराब है तो मतलब जीरो मिल जाएगा. आपको जो आपने लिखा है ना छोटे छोटे कॉम्पोनेंट्स उनके लिए भी मिलते हैं मार्क्स. जैसे ये बिजनेस कॉम्बिनेशन का था, तो अगर मैंने परचेज कंसिडरेशन सही से डिराइव किया उसके मार्क्स मिल गए मुझे. ठीक है, 2 मार्क्स उसके मुझे मिले. फिर आप देखोगे ये पूरा रिप्लेसमेंट अवार्ड्स उसको मैंने सही से लिखा है तो 1 मार्क्स. तो ये छोटी छोटी जो वर्किंग होती है ना इनके भी मार्क्स होते हैं. So yeah, so I've just made these workings. Final balance sheet मेरी सही से नहीं tally हुई थी, but I arrived at the right capital reserve figure, I guess, and they have given me 9.5. You all can, if you all want, detailed map of certified copies जो मैंने attach की description box में उसमें से you all can check that. Now showing you that when I had only 2 minutes left in the exam, ये 5 मार्क का Ind AS 1 का बहुत easy सा question था, बहुत easy सा question, और मैं नहीं चाहता था कि यार 2 मिनट ही बाकी है ये छूट जाए, क्योंकि ये स्कोरिंग था. बहुत ही बेसिक सा क्वेश्चन है कि as on 4th March the company was not able to satisfy condition, hence the loan becomes repayable. On 5th March the company approached the bank and immediately obtained a grace period up to 30th June to get the promoters contribution. तो फिर 31st March पे क्या क्लासिफिकेशन होना चाहिए? आपको मैं जैसा बोल रहा हूँ 2 मिनट ही बाकी थे मेरे पास, मैं बहुत इसमें कोई भाषण नहीं दे सकता था. मैंने जो मेन क्रिस्प जो होता है ना आंसर का मैंने वो इधर लिखा है कि इसे करंट लाइबिलिटी शो करो. देखो लाइबिलिटी भी रिटन लाइबिलिटी नहीं लिखा बिकॉज इतना टाइम ही नहीं था मेरे पास, एंड जिस पे इन्फॉर्मेशन आई गॉट अ 4 on 5 इन दिस फॉर राइटिंग इतना सा. आप देखोगे तो क्वेश्चन इज मच बिगर देन माय आंसर, बट ICS still given me 4 on 5 for this. So the current liability since company doesn't have an unconditional right to defer the payment beyond 12 months from the reporting date. बस इतना सा लिखा है और उसके मुझे मार्क्स मिले हैं. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. Just know that आप मेन कीवर्ड आपने लिखे ना, if you're facing a shortage of time तो भी चल जाएगा. Now second part में assume that it may not be able to get the promoter's contribution by the due date, and hence it got the compliance date extended to after the reporting date. So will the loan at the reporting date be classified as current or non-current? इधर मैंने लिखा है कि no actual breach हुआ है as on the reporting date, hence it will be non-current. ऐसा मैंने लिखा है and I've got a 4 on 5 over here. So yes, guys, that was my analysis. I was facing a shortage of time toward the end of the paper over here, but as you all see, FR is very logical. It's fine if you all don't indulge in a lot of presentations or in a lot of lines. You all can see my presentation. मैंने हर जगह अंडरलाइन भी नहीं किया. मैंने बस वो इंटीग्रेटेड रिपोर्ट का थ्योरी वाला आंसर था उधर मैंने अंडरलाइन किया, बाकी मैंने कहीं अंडरलाइन नहीं किया बिकॉज FR में आपको शॉर्टेज होता है टाइम का, बट आई स्टिल सिक्योर्ड द मार्क्स. सो आई से इन प्रैक्टिकल पेपर्स वैल्यूज द कंटेंट मोर देन द प्रेजेंटेशन, बट आई वुड स्टिल रेकमेंड सम थिंग्स लाइक नया क्वेश्चन है तो नए पेज पे स्टार्ट करो एंड ऑल दैट. इस केस में मैंने नहीं किया, बट दिस इज एन एक्सेप्शन बिकॉज दिस वाज द लास्ट पार्ट ऑफ द पेपर. आई थिंक मेरी सप्लीमेंट शीट भी खत्म हो रही थी, दैट इज व्हाई. बट या all the best and exams are very nearby. Know that you all have a tremendous opportunity. Don't look at it as a hurdle. Look at it as an opportunity for happiness in say 2 months time when the results will be out. You all can be very happy as on the results, provided you all work hard today. And trust me, it feels very good to be on the right end of the results. So just work hard for it. There's no other way but than to work hard. So yeah, see you all. Just let me know if this helped you in the comment section, and yeah, all the best.